What is up, guys? This is Nate from Wrassle. Welcome to another interview. Today I have a super special guest. This is Matthew Weinberg, a three-time All-American at the University of Kutztown, grad assistant, correct, at Kutztown right now.
Yeah, grad assistant.
So he's going to tell us a little bit about himself today. I got some questions lined up for him. So Matt, getting started, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Name's Matt Weinberg. I'm born and raised in Philadelphia. Still live here now. Obviously, living at Kutztown for most of the year. For when I was training as an athlete, now as a coach. And yeah, started wrestling freshman year of high school, and yeah, and ended up at Kutztown. So
That's awesome, man. I don't think I think I did know you started ninth grade, but I don't think it ever clicked.
yeah,
Um, so three-time All-American for Kutztown. Now you're a coach there. What really drew you to Kutztown, right? Like, was it the coaches? Was it the culture? Kind of explain what drew you to Kutztown and why, you've had so much success and where, a lot of that lies in the culture of Kutztown.
yeah. So my recruiting path was definitely a little bit different. So I wasn't a very decorated wrestler in high school. Obviously, started wrestling freshman year. Never qualified for the state tournament. And then actually out of high school, I went to Penn State for a year and a half. And at Penn State, I was doing ROTC, but then it kind of ended up not working out, whatever, for like let's say medical reasons, you know what I mean? So ended up getting like discharged from that program and then started wrestling in opens during my sophomore year at Penn State when I wasn't in ROTC. And I was like, I'm just gonna mess around and see what happens. I miss wrestling. So I wasn't training because obviously wasn't on their team. And I did fairly well. I went to the issue open and I took third, beat a couple Division I kids, and then beat actually a Kutztown kid who's one of my best friends now. And so then after that tournament, there was some in my head like, maybe I should try this wrestling thing again. So I contacted a couple schools, and pretty much the only one who got back and showed interest was Kutztown. So I got there, went on a visit and just loved the coaches right away. The teammates were really cool. And then I pretty much committed there on the spot. So I think my visit might have been like November. And then the application deadline might have been like that week. And they thought I wanted to transfer in the next year. But I was like, I want to come right now. I want to wrestle this season. So we made it work. And I was there by the end of this December. And I guess what kept me there and like helped me have like a really great experience there was like the coaches and the team, like the camaraderie. I think a big thing with high school wrestling is there was like a lot of pressure for no reason. Like I always thought like winning and losing was like really big deal. There's a lot like every time I lost, it felt like I don't know, it made me feel like less of a person. But at Kutztown, they were a lot bigger on. They didn't focus as much as on results, but they focused on like the way we compete. So when I got there, they weren't worried about wins or losses. So I got to just show up and compete, and regardless if I won or lost, like I felt good, and I didn't feel like there was any pressure. So it just allowed me to perform better. So and another thing that I really liked about Kutztown, especially being a not really decorated high school athlete, they're known for developing athletes. So there's plenty of guys who have gone to Kutztown and have not qualified for the state tournament. A couple of All-American, and then a couple, national qualifiers and stuff. So I appreciate that aspect that they're not just recruiting high-level guys and letting them coast through the program. Like they're working with guys. They're recruiting guys, and if you're on the team, they're going to help you get better. And I was fortunate enough that I was kind of in that position.
For sure, man. And I know we always had, Kutztown UPJ rivalry.
Yeah,
But I think at the end of the day, a lot of the PSAC schools, especially Kutztown and UPJ, we grow this relationship after college, whatever. We're not trying to rip each other's heads off.
absolutely.
Because like you said, we're trying to get better. These coaches are looking for guys that are willing to work. We can go in and like I can definitely relate because I was in the same boat, right? Never qualified for states, and then we were wrestling at the national tournament together, which was a pretty cool
Exactly.
experience.
Yeah,
Um,
it's really a blessing. Like having coaches who believe in you, like not for what you did in the past, but like what you're able to accomplish in the future.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, man, I love that mindset. I love that. I love hearing stories like that because it really just builds onto the character piece of it too, not just the wrestling piece, which is awesome. Um, so now I'm going to kind of pick your brain, right? We went from now the high school to into college. Now we're going to kind of jump into post college, right? So what was it, a month ago at this point, month and a half ago, we were on the CWA card together, CWA Showcase 4. And I don't even think I realized that you were affiliated with that until I saw you on the main card. And now
Yeah,
I got to coach against you
exactly.
in the fifth one. Um, Kind of want to pick your brain, how did you get started in CWA? What are your thoughts on these pro wrestling leagues? You got CWA, RAF, you got Claw, all coming out at the same time. What is your perspective on it? Is it something that, in the past has flopped and we're going to kind of see that trend happen again? Or is it going to be something that you see really growing and being something that these post-grad college wrestlers are going to love and enjoy?
Yeah. So after nationals this past year, there was a little bit of like a bittersweet feeling. I felt like I should have won a national title. And obviously, I didn't make it happen, which, life goes on, but there was still an itch to compete. So started to contact a couple of those leagues like the RAF, Claw, CWA, and they all kind of just didn't answer. But for that first card we were on together, they contacted me on like 4 days' notice, and I was literally at the pub drinking. And they're like, "If you're serious about wrestling, let's get you on this card Saturday." And I was like, "You know what? This I have none to lose." So yeah, it was really a blessing just to be able to compete again. But more importantly, like the longevity of these leagues, I know we've seen a couple in the past where they've kind of just drifted away, but these ones, they're fireworks. Like they get good wrestlers on there, and we see matchups that you might not have saw in the past, but people want to see. It's like I don't even know how this match is going to go, which is what you want. You want that 50-50 toss up. So these leagues are doing well with promoting and like sponsorship and bringing firework cards, and that's what people want is entertainment, especially people who aren't as interested in freestyle. Like folk style is like the American style. So to see like professional leagues where athletes are able to pursue that dream, it's really cool. Especially, not to go into tangent, but typically guys after college, unless you're like making a world team, your wrestling career is kind of over. Like there's no professional wrestling. But now we have that. So it's really cool. There's a lot more opportunities for more wrestlers to continue to compete after the collegiate career without being on a world team.
Yeah, and I think that's really the coolest part about it is, whenever CWA first started up, it was in Murraysville, my bread and butter. I went to Franklin Regional High School.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing these guys like Evan Henderson and Trent Hidley wrestling at Murraysville. I'm like, what's going on? I warm these guys up and I'm not wrestling. It was a weird feeling. And I think seeing, all these post grads that aren't chasing the world team, it kind of gets you that itch back. It's like I know I'm maybe not prepared to go into the US Open right now, or maybe I haven't been training as hard as I have been, but I know I can go in there and compete against these guys for one match. Now, a 9-minute match, that's a different story. That's a long
It's
time, but
tough. 3-3-3 is tough, dude. That was another thing. On 4 days' notice, like, oh yeah, by the way, it's 3-3-3. I'm like, oh, but it's wrestling's wrestling. So I was like, I'll be all right.
oh yeah. And both of the matches I've gotten to see in, man, they've been fireworks, with Scott Joel and then with Brock Biddle. I'm sure it felt pretty good to get that one from Brock back.
Yeah, we were 1-1 in college, and then but he got the last laugh. He actually pinned me in the region finals. So, and it was his 100th win, so he was all excited. I'm like, oh, but yeah, it's good to compete against him. He's a really nice opponent. He's really respectful, and he's a tough opponent. So it's the matches I prefer, honestly. So that was one thing I really enjoyed about college wrestling. When you're in high school, you're getting 30-second pins and 20-second pins, and you're just wrestling puds. In college, like even your worst opponents are probably like a state qualifier, state placer. So you have to compete every match. And I enjoyed that. I think I wrestle better against better opponents. And I have more fun against better opponents. It's not fun bullying kids all the time. It's fun to actually get some competition. People want to roll around. So.
Oh, for sure, man. Believe me, it's like a chess game. I always compare it to chess because you got to think through chess. You got to think about college wrestling. It's it's so much fun. I love the way that you view the shift from high school to college because I don't think a lot of kids realize that. This kind of leads me to my next question. I don't want to interrupt this, but I feel
No,
like
it
we
was
can
good.
kind of work off of this question with this next one, or work off of that conversation with this next one. Um, so we've been talking about, there's a big shift from high school to college. What do you think in your career, right? So, you said you started off ended up transferring to Kutztown. What do you think was the biggest shift that made you realize like I am that guy, like I am that good? Especially starting in ninth grade, it's a little bit intimidating stepping out against guys that have been on the mat since they were 3, 4 years old. And by the end of your career, you're going out there teching kids that maybe were 3, 4 time state champions in high school. Um, Kind of walk me through what do you think was that biggest shift getting to college and getting to the point that you were at the end of your college career?
Yeah. So right when I transferred to Kutztown, it was right around New Year's. People have New Year's goals, whatever. I usually think they're corny, but I was like, I'll write a couple down. And one of them was to be a national qualifier that year. And even though I transferred in the middle of the season, and in my head when I wrote that down, I was like, this is a long shot. I was like, I'm in my head, I was like, there's a 95% chance it's not going to happen. But I was like, I'm just going to write it down just to have a goal to chase. And that year, once I got to Kutztown, every match I walked into, in my head, I was like, I'm probably gonna lose. This is a college wrestler. He was good in high school, whatever. Like I felt that way. I was like, I'm probably gonna lose this match. I was like, I might as well go out there and mess around. Like I was like, I'm gonna shoot whatever shot I want. I'm gonna go for every move. If a throw's there, I'm gonna go for it. And I just kind of had like a high flyer type of wrestling style, almost to where I was shooting too much that it was like bad shots. But it was in my head, I was like, I'm supposed to lose anyways. Who cares? And I was winning matches. And I think for the most part, it's like I said, I felt like I had no pressure. My coaches didn't care if I won or lost. And in my head, I didn't care that much I was like, I shouldn't even be here right now. I'm in a, like, I shouldn't be in this position. And it kind of just worked out. Like, I was just winning matches, being wrestling so open in comparison to high school where everything was like, I need to win, I need to win. Now it's like, I just want to have fun and wrestle. So when I shift my mindset to just having fun, competing became easy. It was just the wins came. I just wrestled and I happened to win. Um, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. It was just once you're having fun, it's so much easier to compete better. If you're thinking about winning the whole time, it's a lot more of a stress on you, you know.
For sure. Whenever you put that pressure on, it's whenever you lock up, it's whenever you stop wrestling. And to hear you say that, to hear that come out of your mouth, it just shows, why you got so good so quickly was because, you go out there and you have fun, you can experiment, you're still working hard, you're still doing all the right things, but you're not putting, like you said, all the pressure on yourself that, I have to win this match, I have to do this. You're just going there. It's a sport. It's not like we're going to war, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Um,
Especially obviously I was actually winning when I got to Kutztown and we get the regionals and I somehow won a region title that year. Like it's just in my head, I'm like, how is this happening? Like, I never made the States. Like I just started wrestling after 2 years, like a month and a half ago. And I feel like that national tournament, I went 0-2 and I was actually winning both those matches and then ended up losing. But I felt like I shouldn't have been there. And at that point, from my freshman year to my sophomore year of competing, there was a shift in my head. It was more of like I belong here. It was like I'm gonna continue having fun, but once I had that mindset, like I belong here, like I'm meant to be on that podium. That's when I feel like I really jumped levels. I believe I was good enough to get on the podium that first year, but the belief wasn't there. But once the belief got there that I belong on the top of that podium, that's when the results were even better.
for sure. And, that statement kind of leads us into the next question, right? We have our community it's actively growing. It's trying to get piece by piece people to buy in and, become a part of the Let's Wrestle community. We've had people, like Maddox Shaw, we interviewed Nico Megaludis, Shane Valco, guys that are at the peak of their careers, right? State champions, national champions, stuff like that. Um, what kind of piece of advice for those that maybe haven't reached that peak yet, haven't become All-Americans in college, um, aspire to be like the next Matt Weinberg, right? What would your advice be to those individuals to kind of push them and really just enjoy the sport to try and get to those goals?
Yeah. Some of this is gonna be cliche. Like with the nature of wrestling, it's such competitive sport, you have to work hard. Hard work's the number one thing. You're gonna have to sacrifice a lot. Obviously you want to have fun, you want to go out with your friends, people party in high school, whatever, but you need to sacrifice. Apart from working hard, self-belief's the number one. If you believe you're going to lose, you're probably going to lose. If you believe you're going to win, you at least have a chance of winning. So if you at least give yourself a chance to win, the chances of you actually making it happen are going to increase significantly. So once you're working hard, you have self-belief, and then also, like I said, just have fun. When you're having fun, you compete your best. Like you see a little kid and they're having fun, it's just like they're in that flow state. It's just natural. When you're trying to be robotic and think about everything you're doing, it's so much harder to compete well. Once you're just in that flow state and you're just having fun, you're just cruising. And that's when everyone's performing their best in that flow state. So working hard, sacrificing, and then having fun would be the three
Absolutely.
things I would say to someone young and self-belief.
Heck yeah, man. I love that. I think wrestling's the one sport in the world that, we can take something as brutal as basically fighting each other, have
Yeah.
fun with it, and then, also build ourselves as people and everything outside of wrestling. Um, it's a very, it almost seems like a double-edged sword whenever you say it, but then, you see it happen in front of you and you're like, whoa, those three pieces of advice actually were right. Like how did that work?
Yeah, exactly. Especially with the having fun part. You look at programs like at Penn State and Iowa. Iowa's like a really obvious they're an amazing program. They're always top three in the country, but they're a big just like workhorse, work, work, work. Like we're going to war. Then you see a Penn State where they seem more laid back. Yeah, they're training hard, but they like stress having fun. And those guys are always peaking at the right times. So they don't really get burned out as much. So it's almost like having that Penn State mindset, like just enjoying every day. And then by the time, the lights are on, they perform. So
For sure, man. I love that. I really love, I love every word you're saying here. I promise you I do. Um, So kind of to shift it outside of the actual wrestling piece of it, right? I'm going to kind of sway it back to my brand. Not necessarily from the product standpoint, more from the community standpoint. So when you hear the phrase and you hear the brand of let's wrestle, what does that mean to you? Like if I were to come up to you in the street, I didn't have any of my stuff on and I just said, let's wrestle, what does that phrase, what does that mean to you? Like whether it be let's wrestle, what does that mean?
yeah, I like how it's Wrassle because when you think of Wrassle, like I said, you just think about having fun. It's like when someone's like, let's wrestle, it's just like, all right, we're having a good time. But it kind of just puts light to the sport. Like we said, the sport's tough as it is. You might as well have fun with it. So when I think of Les Wrassle, it's like the goods of wrestling. It's like enjoying the sport and then also just growing the sport. You know what I mean? When you hear Let's Wrestle, you see people wearing the shirts, you see people saying the phrase. It's like just growing the sport, just little by little. It might be a person at a time, but that's what we want. We want growth in the sport. We want growth with brands associated with the sport and then within the athletes. So this brand, like giving athletes and the sport itself, like that platform is just, it's great. And I love what you're doing. We need it for the sport. It's a small sport as it is, not super popular, but it's definitely growing. So it's definitely pushing towards growth.
Yeah, man, no, I appreciate that. And to give you a little bit of insight into where the phrase even came from in the first place, now I'm sure there's a lot of people that said wrestle, but when I was in
Yeah.
high school, my practice partner was Spencer Lee, right? He used to throw me around, throw me into walls, be putting his hands on my head. I'd take a high crotch and my jaw get dislocated.
Yeah.
Um, so to
Good
kind of keep
talk.
it fun, you say, oh, let's wrestle, try to make it funny while also like you're getting your butt kicked. It's not
Yeah.
fun.
It's never fun, but I'm sure he was a dog to wrestle with.
Oh, for sure.
It's a different beast.
He
I
was,
always I always wish I could train with some world-class guys like that more often because you can feel like you're at such a high level, but until you wrestle that top guy, you don't realize like the levels like that get jumped. There's a national champ, but then like world champ, and it's like it's just different human being. It's different. So to actually like experience it, I'm sure it was just like a privilege, honestly, just to
oh,
be
for
around
sure.
that.
And we look at guys like Spencer, and then you have guys like Nico Megaludis who maybe didn't even get to that point, and you feel him, and you're like, how did you not win a national title, or how did you not win a world title? Like it's
Yeah.
crazy to, like you said, it's levels. There's style differences, there's everything in between. Not to discredit anybody, but you just see these guys go out there, and you're like, how in the world is he doing this right now?
Yeah. That's the impressive part about these high schoolers right now. There's obviously always great high school wrestlers like Chance Marsteller and Spencer Lees of PA. But we're seeing so many more high schoolers who are able to compete with like Division One All-Americans, and it's like, where is this coming from? So I feel like there has to be a big like culture switch or something in high school, or just growth in the sport, like an evolution of it, to where we're seeing high-level wrestlers even earlier. I see on my Instagram sometimes it'll be like two like 6-year-old wrestlers having the most insane high-level scramble, and it's like, how do you even know to do that at 6 years old? Do you know what I mean? It's really impressive seeing this.
Oh yeah, and you look at a guy like Jax Forrest, made a
Oh.
senior world team as a what junior, senior in high school now.
And being a world champ in the
Yeah,
process. So it's like, how is that happening? But it goes to show, like, as long as you have a mat and some partners, you're able to get better.
absolutely. So I got a fun question for you here, Matt, and it's the real deal, right? It's going to be super super deep. We're going to get into it a little bit. So when we were out in Greensburg for CWA Showcase 4, you expressed your love for golf.
Oh yeah.
Now I gotta ask, like, is there any favorite spots? You got like a favorite part of the game you like? You're a driver, putter, short game?
Um, the driver has to be the most fun club. It's either going to be your favorite part of the round or your least favorite part of the round. But no, the driver's fun. You flush a driver. It's a good feeling. That's my favorite. But I really like chipping too. You chip on close, it's a good feeling. But golf as a whole, I love it, dude. Coach Ziad was making fun of me yesterday. He said, I think Matt likes golf more than wrestling now. It's just because I'm golfing all the time. But dude, it's a great sport.
For sure. It's relax. Next time we hang out, man, we gotta go out on the links.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to.
Oh yeah. So Matt, I gotta ask you, is there any final thoughts, any shout outs, announcements, anything that you want to say? I want to give you your time to not be following the agenda that I got written in front of me. I want it to be whatever you want to say. If there's somebody, if there's something that's on your mind, let's hear it.
Yeah. I'm just gonna shout out like my coaches, Coach Fish, he's my head coach at Kutztown. Coach Ziad, he's the assistant, and Coach Nate is his brother, another assistant. They pretty much made me the wrestler who I am. Like the level I'm at and the fact that I can be on a platform like this is only because of them. They believed in me when I was a nobody and they helped me become someone. So it's really cool. Like they believed in me as an athlete, even though I was bottom of the totem pole at the time. And then I have a really strong faith in God and firm believer that Jesus Christ is King. So without him, nothing's possible. So I give all praise and glory to him. Regardless of wins or losses in the sport of wrestling, like when I die, I doubt Jesus can be like, you weren't a national champ, you get kick rocks, you know what I mean? It's like, he loves me regardless. So that was another aspect of wrestling. I was really able to compete in college really calm because I knew that regardless of win or loss, Jesus loves me. My coaches love me, my parents love me, my girlfriend, my friends. They all love me regardless of results. So, like just having like the support system I did throughout my career was a blessing. I couldn't ask for a better one, seriously.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
But hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on today, letting me pick your brain. I really liked a lot of the insights you gave. I feel like these interviews, I get to see a lot of the different sides of the athletes, not just, I get to see you as a three-time All-American, right? I get to see you as a person. I get to see your mindset and stuff like that. Um, so thank you again for your time today. Uh, Make sure you guys go check out the letswrestleapparel.com and go check out the new socks. They are getting released on Monday, September 15th. Shoot for the stars, even if you can't make it to the launch pad, and keep wrestling. Appreciate you, Matt.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.